Grace on wings flies high for a bigger purpose. Tammy told me that day, you feel closer to God when you're up high. I must say everyone has the power for greatness. Not for fame, but for greatness. Because greatness is determined by service. For as long as I can remember, my prayer has been the same. God, use me. Show me how to take who I am, who I want to be, and what I can do, and use me for a purpose greater than myself. For once in my career, I knew I was on the right path, doing the right job. It's the same when you know you're not. You feel it. Each one of us has a personal call to greatness. And because it's so unique to you as your fingerprints, no one else knows but you. After Jerry and I left the hangar, I learned that the story is not about a flight to transport the sick. It's a moment to be closer to God. Remember, it's my passion to tell great stories. That day, I got an opportunity to show how God is always at work. I want to leave you with these few words from a fellow journalist. It's, quote, "Ignoring your passion is like dying a slow death. Your life is speaking to you every day, all the time. And your job is to listen up and find the clues. Passion whispers to you through your feelings, calling you toward your highest good. Pay attention to what makes you feel energized, connected, stimulated, what gives you the push. Do what you love, give it back in the form of service, and you will do more than succeed. You will triumph. I ask, what is your purpose? Each one of us is destined for greatness." Thank you.
Grace on Wings definitely has a high calling and purpose, and those of us that are connected with it in any way are certainly grateful and overwhelmed by the fact that God can use ordinary people to accomplish wonderful things for Him. It's because He's so great. He can take anything and bring glory out of it for Him. I want to finish telling a story. We've been telling some stories here tonight. Hal began telling a story about the passage in Luke chapter 5 about the man who was paralyzed. He had some friends that cared for him enough to put him on a pallet or a stretcher and to carry him to a home where Jesus was at. Well, Jesus had been growing in his fame in terms of his teaching. People were hanging on his words, and he was healing many people. And so the house they were at was crowded. It was packed. There were people inside and outside. These guys were not going to get their friend through the door. But they wouldn't be deterred. They got up on the roof and began to pull the tiles and the roofing away and lowered the man in front of Jesus. And Jesus saw their great faith on behalf of their friend. And He said, "Your sins are forgiven." And of course, you know the story. The religious leaders were there, and they said, "Well, nobody can forgive sins but God." Of course, Christ was God. So He said, "I understand the reasoning of your heart, but which is easier, to say your sins are forgiven or get up and walk out of here?" And so then He said, "Just so you know that the Son of Man has the power and authority on earth to forgive sins, I say to you, take up your pallet and go home." And the man went home glorifying God. When you pray for Grace on Wings, or when you financially support this ministry, as Hal mentioned, you are one of those people hanging onto a rope and lowering a person in front of Jesus, with the ultimate goal that they will get up and go home and glorify God, whether it be here on earth or in heaven, that God be glorified. Pray over it and ask the Lord, "Lord, is this something you want me to be a part of?" And if God says yes, then I encourage you to obey Him. He'll bless you abundantly. And if not, that's okay.
So we are His portion, He is our prize, drawn to redemption by the grace in His eyes. If grace is an ocean,